and having the understanding that my humanness will always be present in my moments. But because of the inner excavations I've done, I have a focus and a clarity and an emotional mental stability that is unwavering.
So beautiful.
And that's from someone that used to choose to live under bridges and shoot dope, right? Because I was so broken on my agreements. Hello, top of the morning to you, lass.
Top of the morning to you. Thanks for being patient.
Oh, that's my middle name, but you know, it's kind of ironic how I became so patient. You know, that's one of those things I heard once. Careful what you ask for, because you'll get it.
That is so true. That is absolutely true.
I was trying to need to be more specifics on how these lessons are taught.
Oh, I know, right?
Then we never asked.
What was that?
Then we.
Yeah, then Ken goes, we would never ask.
I know. Oh my gosh. Carrie, I just got off the phone. Hey, hello, my brother.
He's blowing you kisses.
Oh, I blew one back.
He blew him back.
Caught it. I just got off the phone with my mom, and I'm doing my writing about it because that's how when I get stirred,
right,
this deep, I have to write. And I could cry because it always comes back to wanting to be understood by them. And I picked it up again, that egregore. And the hardest struggle I've had since last December. And it's so funny because these are half tears of joy because I know my truth and my trust. And the other half is that humanism in the agreements that I'm still unraveling, that I owe them something.
I comprehend that. I totally comprehend that.
I knew you would. So again, I just was writing, how have I been resentful? Where was my fear? You know, the jealousy, the undercurrent that was inside of me. And just the joy, because it's like this now when I process my own things, you know, so I can be in that moment, but now I'm in this one. But it's just so powerful still that I'm capable and that I live in such solution-based existence today.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Solution-based.
Oh, God.
It is. Oh my gosh, solution-based existence. I'm writing that one down. Man, you always tend to bring up these wonderful nuggets just as you're in the flow, that they're just, if you can't capture it in the moment, it just keeps flowing. It's like this endless river of living water that is being produced through you as you are in your now moment, coming together in my now moment. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful. I love being together with you because of the connections we've made, but because of the wisdom that comes forth through what you've lived, what you've endured, what you've overcome, and who you are right now.
Yeah, the purpose, right? It's just super to be human, right? And to get this experience, to circumnavigate my soul, to do that compass journey back to wholeness, where the love and trust that I have in here.
You can come. Yes,
of course.
Well, I just want to bip in just to say that I comprehend you. And I see you and I hear you and I recognize you. I think, like, similar to me, the question is more suited when I ask, who is family? Because we both, Carrie and I, see you and resonate to your vibration when you share things. And that's why we make space so you can be heard, you know, from our broadcast, as little as it is. But we're doing that because we hear you and we see you and we appreciate you as the residents of Mishpachah, what family is as a residence. And so
I love you.
I love you as well.
It's all here for you guys. And I know you see me like I see you. I've seen you for a long time before I was in your physical presence.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful.
It really is. And that's, you know, the grace in our life. when you allow spirit to move you, you always end up where you're supposed to be.
Oh, that's good. That's exactly right. So for people to get to know you a little bit more, like Ken and I have, I mean, because the most wonderful blessing that I received was getting to actually physically hug you in Crestone. That was like,
Back
oh
at
my
you.
gosh. Oh,
I think
the
that's
best.
why they don't want people within 6 feet of each other. I swear,
Course.
like everything is energy, right? Vibration, all of that Nicholas Tesla so blessed us with, because he tapped into those knowledges, gave them to us. And yeah, hugs are so important to me. Looking into someone's eyes, allowing space before I even communicate, because I'm not really language based. It's more of an energy exchange in the moment, because English is so far removed from me. That's my struggle. Is
I agree.
trying to get across exactly. And sometimes I can't talk to you. I just got to hug you.
That's the best ever. That's
Yeah.
that's my favorite place to be. And you know, once we get to that place where that frequency is consistent in and through all things, right? Our words will actually be hugs.
That's what we all strive for. I believe in my reality, like welcome, and what a gift that you've taken time to listen to me. I'm one of many, you know, and it's just a privilege to be heard. That's all we all want, is acknowledgement, you know. It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss.
Go ahead.
No, that Dr. Seuss, I don't remember it, but it's like the elephant, and he carries the world in a little dust ball on the end of his nose, and they're like, we're here. And
Who will?
it's just a privilege. And like you just said, having it consistently, being in that flow where I'm able to receive, you know, and realizing a lot of this journey has brought me to that foundational truth that's in my constitution, that I live not only a moment at a time, but it's a daily reprieve, and it's based on only Heather's spiritual condition, no one else's, you know. And that's that part of religion coming out of it, realizing there were spirit laws that applied to us, kind of like gravity, you know. Little kids can't explain it, but they're not going to float up and disappear because they can't explain it. That's why I now tell people, have the day you deserve.
Oh, see, there's another one. Have the day that you deserve. Oh my gosh.
I mean, don't get it twisted. Like,
no,
oh my
no.
gosh. I don't,
No.
It's all in like love, but I think, you know, that's the funny thing. And until I emptied out the chalice, so to speak, with my old agreements and ideas, I couldn't fill it back up with truth and wisdom. And I like to think I'm exchanging my youth for wisdom this time, because I don't want to come back here. I always joke that I was Dracula. That's how I this time. So, you know, I always bring it back to me. I don't bang into people anymore, people, places, or things, because I'm solid in my self-trust and worth.
Right.
You know, but that took a lot of work. So
that phrase that you just said, I mean, I got excited about it, but definitely not on the negative sense, in a neutral sense, because have the day you deserve is based upon your mirror. Yeah. It's totally based on your mirror. And so the day that you deserve is that which is being reflected back at you, giving you an opportunity to have a miracle of transformation take place in your life, if you can see it.
Yeah. And that's the game, right? Transmuting those egregores that I built up, stocked up. Call me Santa Claus. I had a sack of them. You know?
I know, right? And what the weight we would carry around all that until they got transmuted. Do you mind sharing a little bit? I mean, I know that you're not one that likes to give a lot of attention to some of the things that you've come through, but your story, and yes, there's history, but because you were living in our now space, but the things that you have come through in your daily living to get you to where you are now, and how you have developed such a beautiful community, speaking life into people on a daily basis. I would love for people to be able to connect a little bit to some of what you have endured and why everything. Like my favorite mantra, and every time I think about you, my beautiful friend, is another day of wow. Yeah. Such an incredible mantra. It's another day of wow. I would love for
Mm.
people to understand the journey of your fractal of source, where you came from, what you went through in order to become who you are as this beautiful, magnificent, wonderful soul sister I see in front of me today. Whatever you're willing to share as spirit guide.
Absolutely. No, I feel privileged, and I do it a lot because I've mentioned before to you, I'm a recovered heroin addict, and that I am in another 12-step program. And that was just part of, it's not like I have no attachments to these titles, just like you. I was a frequent flyer, you know, at some institutions, etc. And if I had held on to those agreements, you know, I'm labeling myself and I'm staying stuck. And I believe this whole journey is fluid, and I will constantly be exchanging and growing in benevolence. But until you get to the point where you see that as part of, you know, I was far, far removed from that. And that's the beauty of the language and the reparenting that it offers individuals when they're willing to go in to do that excavation, to allow themselves to see that truth, those inner fractal parts of us, because we are, you know, in a quantum field, and we're exposed to a lot of it, but we're programmed only to focus on, I could call my avatar a meat suit, in the senses that are attached to that. And
Right.
So no harm or foul. And that's the beauty of 8 billion of us here right now sojourning. And I love to extrapolate from other people's, even from the past, how they lived. I love the frequencies because we're all still here. So you can tune into those things, you know, and I just feel really privileged that I'm sitting here and I'm able to share that. And I always like to think, you know, part of staying right-sized, I think, and in the flow is having that understanding that what I'm about to share, try to identify only, don't compare yourself to it. Because this is what I did to get to my now. And that's the beauty of this journey. The journey is the destination. That's why you just identify, you know, and if people ask for suggestions, you can give them. But to me, this is a school, and I wasn't behaving, I guess, quite appropriately in the department of love and making a we with others, right? So here I sit learning my lessons, and my goal is to become, if I may, a 999.
I love that. I know exactly what you're saying when you
I
say
know,
that.
but it is what it is, and I try to wear my days like a loose garment, and that's part of why it's such a day a while, because I don't judge myself anymore. I've been rendered clear, and that was it. The battlefield was my mind. You know, my dark night of the soul just brought me so low, because until it's almost like falling off a cliff and just letting go of your agreements, because I was so hemmed up inside from resentment. Number one offender. You know, you lost me at when my father said, you know, trust me, come here, I'm not going to hurt you. And from that point forward, I didn't really trust even myself, you know, and I can go back like through the reparenting that I've done and realize my parents are alive, they're in my life, and I have healthy relationships in my life as much as I can, because I don't commit spiritual violence, and I have nothing but a compassion consciousness now, and they're where they're supposed to be at, and they did much more right than wrong. However, I come from a heavy childhood.
Yeah.
And I got to release all of that. You know, I got to learn from it. And
Well, that's when we get to look at it from that objective state instead of the subjective state, where, you know, we can actually talk about it and not have it bring us right back into those moments, into those hell loops, in reliving these things. Because when we do that, we actually bring them back into our now. Because our body, I mean, the way the chemical makeup works, it doesn't know the difference. It only knows now. So
that's
when the mind,
epigenetics, right?
yeah, it is. And so when we bring those things back up and we're thinking about them, we're actually reliving them. And that's why it's so important to do the work such as what you have and the things that I have done, so that we can talk about them in a very objective state of being and saying, yes, I did walk through this, but this isn't who I am at the core of my being. It was just an experience that got me to where I am now.
It's my who, not my do.
That's right. That's right. So
You know,
definitely.
yeah, just having that ability, you know, and I think that's just it. I'm not in the business of outcomes, right? Even to watch my children go through this, because I believe there's cycles here, just like we're in a cycle coming to the end of one, as a collective ego and humanity. Every individual's journey has those seasons, 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, you know, and when I became aware of such things and where I was at, it just brought more peace for me, having that understanding of our truth, what we're doing here, you know, as beings of light, so to speak, remembering ourselves, even
Exactly.
us as a family, and that being my focus, like you said, and not bringing any of the trauma into the moments, and realizing wholeness that we all are, and wholeness and dis-ease are both the same. You know, it comes from a thought process, like we talk about, and you just kind of got into a little bit the epigenetics, right? When we're not thinking appropriately, we're going to excrete corticosteroids. That's what comes from the endocrine system, and that's what breaks down the avatar. Whereas when I'm in the proper thought process, I'm making even, what is that stuff, nitrous oxide, you know, and I'm making serotonins, dopamines. I've trained myself now, but it was like a 20-year walk in the dark, so to speak. And that's what it's about, you know. In those moments when these lessons were raw and hard, and I was stuck in the program from, right, again, 0 to 7 or even older, we're all affected by sociological variables that are inflicted upon us. And so that's why, by the grace of God, go I and anyone else's journey. So I don't know what's good for me. So how would I know what's good for you? I'm figuring out my day. And if you ask, I can offer a suggestion, but that's what I truly believe our family represents, is that walking shoulder to shoulder, bouncing things off each other, you know, that reflection I can get. And understanding that this doesn't work anymore because there's 3 coming back no matter what. And I hate that some days.
I know, but it's still, you know, in that moment, this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty, because what you just said in transparency is those 3 that come back. I hate those days. Yet when we walk through them, we get on the other side and we bless those days. And we're like, oh, yes, this was so good. But in the moment, you know, I was actually thinking about what you were saying. You were mentioning about trauma. And I actually see that trauma, anything that has traumatized us, is something that we distance ourselves from. And that's why it's trauma. If we allow it to pass through us, then we don't become traumatized to it.
No, I know.
It's only when we get stuck in that moment. And here's something that I found that was pretty amazing, that I heard Dale Hoffman talk about, because I love the man for what he's done as a pioneer in the Aramaic languages, because I honestly believe that his 30 years of pioneering in that has actually allowed it to be an easier for me to jump into it, not because I've sat under his study, but because he's opened up neuro pathways in the collective consciousness so that I could easier get onto that ramp because of what he did for 30 years. What I'm bringing up is he reminded in one of his videos, I don't catch them all, but it was one that Spirit said, watch this, that trauma and things like that happen and get bored into our DNA because we forget to breathe. We forget to breathe.
Yeah.
So when we have our breath caught, or in that moment of jumping, or that trauma where the breath is changing from its natural state of being, and all of those chemical responses begin happening within our body, that is what locks in the trauma. And it's the breath. And it's like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So trauma only becomes trauma because we distance it, we change our normal breathing pattern, and then it locks us in. And then that gets connected into the genetics so that the epigenetics happen and it continues on in future generations. So our shadow work and going through all the traumatic moments where we allow ourselves to relive them and breathe through them, which is totally connected to Ruka, to spirit, and we allow them to pass through us, we are actually affecting future generations to not get locked in those same loops. And that is directly connected to us and the things that people call the karma wheel. So incredible.
Yeah, I can see that, and how he drew that out of the ethers, that truth, because it's phenomenal to me, because we were talking about holding the trauma and being able to release it to heal, because part of the trauma that I sustained, I ended up breaking my neck. And I've had multiple surgeries. I was paralyzed on both extremities, upper extremities, actually at different times I would lose because of the stuff. And, you know, having those diagnoses from a neurosurgeon that's one of the best in the country, Dr. Eric Woodard, and not allowing on some level, because I truly believe part of Heather's here and there's many other parts doing other things, and her knowing enough and having the patience with the rest of us till we got here, because some of it is mind-blowing. And Dr. Joe Dispenza and I live kind of similar paths at the same time, not knowing each other. And that's what I mean about there's nothing new under the sun. And we're all literally like antennas, and it's a big radio station, and you're gonna play what or hear what you tune into, you know. And
Exactly.
I had started like you. I've always been drawn to scripture, and I have been almost in every denomination. And again, hindsight 2020, had the privilege to be in one program. It was called Teen Challenge, where we had to write the Bible in our handwriting. And that's again my the gifts I see in that now, because the more you dig, it tells you you're gonna see. And that's the daily reprieve I've had for days. Even though I've been in some of the storms I've been in, they had purpose. After that dark night, when I got to see Lilith in front of me, my own, and that is just the moment that changed my life. And just the amazing release, because I had kept all that in me for so long, like all of us do, because I chose to. No other reason.
That's that distancing from. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because this kind of segues something that I feel like that the Ruka, the spirit, is really wanting to bring forth in our conversation specifically today, is that acceptance of that darker part of ourself is absolutely 100% necessary for the fullness of the restoration of who we are collectively. And it has to be done individually. I had something that just recently happened and it threw me off. And I was having a discussion today when I was working out. Ken and I were doing our hill climb, and usually his stride is a little bit longer than mine. And although I attempt to keep up with his pace, it sometimes just doesn't work. And so I go inside, and I was having a conversation and I was reflecting upon something. I was trying to encourage myself. I have a point to what I'm sharing here. I was trying to encourage myself. And so I said, I am not my body, you know, in my inward speech with me, I am not my body, because my body was like, you know, I was struggling, right? And so the breath is affected, and then a little bit of anxiety comes in because I'm pushing myself hard, right? I am not my body. And I heard within me, yes, you are. And I kind of went, what? And then I heard, and no, you aren't. Like, okay, all right. I think I get what you're saying here. And then I had a flashback of something that happened a couple days ago that was very difficult for me. I lost my cool, and that's not, I generally don't do that. I generally don't. It's just not something that I've ever really felt necessary in my life, but I think it was more programming than anything else, like sudden outbursts of anger, or, you know, just kind of the indoctrination that I went under, that it wasn't acceptable to be able to have outbursts of anger. And I mean, I lost it. I mean, I absolutely lost it. And of course it was directed to my wonderful husband, Ken, and thank God he's got big shoulders, but I freaking lost it. And it was, I had profanity coming out of my mouth. Like,
I'm glad you got it all out.
I horrified myself afterwards, right? I horrified myself. And it was the most most vile display I think that this avatar has ever done in its 49 years of existence. And all of a sudden, so I'm having this conversation as I'm walking this morning up this hill, pressing myself. I am not that. Yes, you are. Because as soon as I got done with it, of course, it was just this passionate display of anger and of frustration and rage. I mean, rage. I'm surprised I didn't pick up stuff and start throwing it. I didn't need to. It was all words and it was just coming out of me. And I realized it was a release that I needed to. For every time that I've actually wanted to say something and have an outburst of anger that I repressed, or taking it from someone else, projecting it upon me, and then me just swallowing it. So every time I would swallow it, or I would not allow myself to have that expression, it just kept compressing and compressing and compressing. And we're in these last stages of this purification process where all that stuff is coming up.
It has to.
And so I remember later in that day and coming back and thanking Ken for allowing, sitting through that vile vomit, and then, crying my way through it, and then hugging him and saying, and working it all out. It turned out beautiful. But I remember when I was talking to Ken, I said, I am not that. I am not that.
That's right.
But the spirit reminded me, yes, you are. And no, you are not. They share the same place.
Yeah.
And very specifically, it said, once you can conjoin the two, then you have eminent domain and you've mastered yourself.
Indeed.
So again, being able to reconcile all of those things and allow it to flow through us epigenetically, we do not have to pass it on to future generations, and we're actually transforming ourselves in the moment, which is then actually freeing the collective, because how much of that anger was not just my anger.
Yeah, it's all about us. That's
how much of that could have been from.
Yeah, it's what I call a whirling dervish, and I let him whirl, and then I have a healthy body.
I'm at that place where I'm looking at it and like, when do I step in and when do I not? Or when do I just let it play itself out?
We never step in because we're not in the business of outcomes. My whole thing is, and I've said it to people, if you would like to do a meeting like this with the other person, but they're not here, so I cannot talk.
Oh, that's really good. I like that. And I love it too. The importance of saying that we're not in the business of outcomes. And so in actuality, the way I see that conflict resolution happening is only when somebody reaches out and asks for assistance. Otherwise, it comes across as just being gossip. And I do not engage with any of that. And I've had to put, like everything. And that was like a lot of what came up in me. I have a great life. I'm not like looking, it's not like I'm trying to run away from anything. No, I get it. Key point, what you just said. Key point, that is, let the heavens open up and light just come through. That's exactly it. You're not running away. You already have a great life.
And this is what I wrestle with in transparency is, where are those that have a willingness to confront themselves to fulfill the standard? I'm not setting the standard. You already well know what the standard is within you. I don't need to tell you. If you truly know yourself, then you've already come to terms with yourself. It's that level. This is what I see in you. This is what I hear in your language. So that being said, like Crestone is really irrelevant to me. When it is resonating at the potential of what it should be as a people representing it in order, as established by becoming, then I will consider moving there. But until then, again, it's that same question. Why in the hell would I leave my sanctum of sanctuary that I've established as my own confronting, as my own coming around and about to find oneself? Why would I leave that to go into a situation that is unresolved?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we were
So,
discussing.
and I see that with yourself. Like people say, when are you going to move? I'm going, I wouldn't say that to anyone else. I would only say that to select people in the realization that when I went there, I'm looking at things and it saddens my heart. And at some point, like, again, but it's not my job. If we have the ability to pull ourselves and assemble ourselves, then we can assemble what is necessary to be a representation of, as a representation of government.
I have like more will be revealed and it all unfolds as it's supposed to. And we're always going to be where we're supposed to be, regardless of what we think.
I know I've noticed that how the older I get and the longer I walk, the more I see it just flows through me and I need to just not worry about the outcome. Like you said,
This,
unfolding as it needs to. And I think that actually the more that we try to make something happen, the more we hinder our own journey on our walk instead of just letting it flow.
amen. And there's a lot, like I could swear this is what most people are lacking. And that's why it's so many, is because we don't realize we don't love ourselves.
I know, right? That is the key, right? Boom. That's it right there. Another moment to just think about is that we don't love ourselves.
Because I see it in my mother and the fear that she lives in, because her agreements, you know, being brought up in the church. My mom's Catholic, not a wicked practicing, but that's her go-to. And it's just heartbreaking because I can see it. I've been in a lot of denominations, but the people that have conscious contact with the divine supreme creator do not live in fear. And they never second guess themselves. And it's not through an audacity, it's through being extremely right-sized and knowing to walk shoulder to shoulder and having the understanding that my humanness will always be present in my moments. But because of the inner excavations I've done, I have a focus and a clarity and an emotional mental stability that is unwavering.
So beautiful.
And that's from someone that used to choose to live under bridges and shoot dope, right? Because I was so broken on my agreements. I'm not going to blame the fact that I was molested, abused. You know, my dad took my kitten out of my arms when I was like 4 because it scratched me the way I was holding it. And he just threw it up in the air and shot it, you know?
Wow.
And yeah, but again, on the other end of that continuum, right? I don't think I would have lived through being kidnapped, beaten, raped, left for dead, and having a broken neck if he hadn't trained me like he did to be a hockey player. And I played junior Olympic hockey in Europe when I was in high school, right? And like Paul says, live your life like you're training for the Olympics, right? And that's where I got that from. And then I went, oh my God, I have trained for the Olympics. Holy shit, that's what it's going to take to navigate this place. Like I was in the 6th grade. My dad was flipping me out of bed, throwing water on me to go skate at the rink for 2 hours. Who gets up at 4 a.m. just to absorb the word? And it's the favorite part of the day. Sometimes it wakes me up at 2 or 3, but my whole life is like, I don't believe in time. I believe in clocks. So I just know that's my commodity, my time. And I wake up every day and I'm right in it with spirit to get those shoes of peace going, as those scriptures say, right? So as I circumnavigate this, I have that peace. Every situation I go into, my breath allows me the space I need to observe it, not take it personally, be impeccable with my word in that moment, you know?
That's beautiful.
Not make it about me. I like at this juncture, there's a Rumi poem and a song, this beautiful woman that sings in Sanskrit does it, and it's I do not exist. And it's not from like an egoic perspective. I have the inner waters of shalom that are bursting forth. And I have been given this gift to allow myself to jumpstart others if they so choose, so to speak. That's the energy facilitation. Like if you do, you know, cranial sacral, any of that stuff. I did Reiki before I was a nurse. I was in all of that. That's the beauty of just my journey, is living in Arizona, working at a reservation and not knowing, this was in the early 90s, you know, but then veering off that path of the right-handed path on purpose. I'm not saying it was all an accident. I may not know why I did what I did, but that's another Rumi poem. We all end up in God's classroom, some dressed for dancing, others dragged in on a stretcher. you know, and for some reason, I had chosen, or my lessons, I don't know, they were loud, if nothing else, to get my attention. And that's the irony of it, and why I truly believe the DNA in us encodes everything we need, but it's released on permission by the inner excavation. And we have to have that motive of an intention of purity for the highest good of all, in that in that situation. I have become love. I'm not trying to love others. I just am love, you know, but it took and it's that duality here, you know, the trajectory that I created, because I went to the bowels of my journey as low as I figured I could go. You know, I was like the nurse in the ER that was so judgmental of drug addicts prior to becoming one. I would call you a frequent flyer, and I was just so judgmental. I did not identify with humans for the first part of my life, because I was born into the way I narrate it now is a lot of entitlement, being born in the Americas. I don't like the way we label things, but I'm going to, and I just know I was just living the life of an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, with some sociopathic undertones, where, you know, I could steal your wallet and help you look for it and sleep fine.
Good to know.
You're not supposed to be listening.
Said from the peanut gallery.
Well, that's the addiction component. When you let the egregores take you over, it's like going to the, I don't know, the amusement park, or getting in the ring with a gorilla. The fight's over when the gorilla says so.
Well, but here's the beautiful part in all of that, Heather, and why I wanted to have this conversation with you today is because the joy that comes through you, just the presence of your being, the love, the wisdom, the deep, incredible wells of wisdom from being in the ring with the gorilla, from all of those choices, from the sociopathic tendencies that you had when the addiction egregores had you bound up. You have come through the other side. Like, you've had so many comparisons in your life and so much traumatic events that you've had to go through, that the extreme polarity of the opposite side of grace goes beyond anything that I have experienced with another self in my presence. And so it's like just being able to sit in your presence and to feel the gratitude that you have for life in all of its choices, in the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and still seeing it in such this beautiful place of wonderment. Hence why you say another day of wow. I'm blessed beyond measure to know you, to intimately have come in your space, and to be able just to listen to the torrents of wisdom that come because you have the authority to speak it, because it's coming right from the heart.
Yeah. Amen.
You are like a walking Rumi poem.
Yeah. All purposed. And I'm just, you know, so grateful that I signed up for it and that I'm following it through, and more will be revealed. And there's that book like No Mud, No Lotus. So, you know, I can identify with that, and just knowing those other parts. You know, I've told you my husband transitioned in 2018 as well. And I have conscious contact with his frequency as well. And that's probably why I know what I know about some things, you know. And again, it's a privilege, and he's taught me so much, because one of the reasons people can't believe that some talk to other dimensions and others don't is, again, it's given by permission. Sean cannot be around me unless I'm in this kind of chdutha. If I'm missing him, or I'm resentful, any type of fear blocks us from any of that light. That's why we live a moment at a time, a moment at a time, a moment at a time.
What you just said is really profound. That element of missing him or in fear, all of that will keep the communication from happening. That huge key,
Yeah.
huge key.
Yeah. And again, like hindsight's always 2020. And we had a pact. I had to wake up this time. Like there's that story, The Little Soul. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we made that, and again, I don't need narratives of my past to get me through this moment. It's more like I love storytelling, and any of us can make up anything we want about situations we've lived through. It's our perspective,
Exactly.
But I have a lot of experience with magic because of the way I live. And I know it's possible to have this wholeness back, because I never thought when I was at that lowest point, making all the wrong choices, so brutal to my avatar. That's the other thing I don't think people understand, is this is the temple. You can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't live like that and think that you're doing yourself any favors, because that shit blocks us too.
It does.
To a point. It doesn't mean you're not going to grow any, but eventually you'll get the pet on the head. It's got to go.
That's right. That
Because
is so true.
you won't continue with the information.
No.
And again, you can't get it wrong, and it never ends. You're eternal. So have at it. That's why it's okay to live extravagantly this time through, if that's what you choose.
I agree. I was getting an imagery when I was doing my walk yesterday. It's like an ongoing conversation that happens when I walk, and I'm walking by myself because Ken's ahead of me. It's just like I pick up where I left off from the day before, and it's just an ongoing conversation inwardly with myself dimensionally. And I saw a picture of spiritual alchemy, the circle and the diamond and the square, and spirit within me. I call it the aha. Not so much the ruka, but the aha, because aha is a shortened form of ahava. And it's that aha moment, right? It's spirit revealing, building love on the inside. And so as aha and I were discussing, so that I can become more of alaha, lamed in the middle of that. As I was discussing this, so this imagery came to me, and I saw it, and I began pondering it. And so I was just questioning it and mulling it over. And what it shared with me is I saw the picture of spiritual alchemy in becoming gold, right, as the golden self. But then I saw the outer turn into another circle. So like the circle is that inward self of the consciousness that's in an embodiment, right? And then you have the triune being, and then you have the square. It creates the golden mean ratio, et cetera, et cetera. If you dive into those studies, you know what that's talking about. But once it completes its journey in the dimension that it's in, it creates another circle that then has to have the triangle and the square. Hence why we are always forever growing, and why the universe is always expanding, because every single time we do that, we unlock a greater essence of who we are in another dimension,
who we could be collecting.
And it never stops. And so it was like, I don't know, I've heard many things shared, but once it drops from the head into the heart,
it doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. It's like, it's the aha moment.
Amen.
Greater expansion of Allah, of God, of who I am, as I just expanded myself another notch because my heart got invested in it. And it's different than attachment. It's becoming it. It's becoming the essence of it. So it is the fabric of your being that just got expanded.
Oh,
and
amen.
That's why we continue to grow.
That's how we grow.
Yeah. Hence why I wanted to share that what Spirit Aha was saying yesterday, because of what you had prompted in the thought of it. And it's like, yeah, of course, we are eternal beings, and we never stop growing ever. That means we always have new things that we're learning and expressions of ourselves.
I think that's why we have to really come back to that, I guess, agreement with self, that your loveliness will shine through eventually, because I just watch it in the people that are just constantly beating themselves up, even though they want to progress, they're not understanding.
The fact that I wanted to have children and that I didn't end up having children, I'm very grateful for it now. That was part of my sojourn here And because I have memories of some previous lifetimes, I can see why I didn't have children this time around.
What the hell did I do?
I can see that. I can see that because there was a lot of trauma that was connected to that. And this time around, it was like one of those agreements to not have that be part, so that I could focus on what I needed to do in this avatar body without having that pull as well.
This is what, and I just, again, I let this stuff go. I let it go because we're all having our own journey. That's why you only want to identify with others and realize that we're all going to get exactly what we need to become our true authentic selves in its own unveiling in time.
Exactly.
And that's why you just pick your we's. My world is very small. It's where my feet is, the people I know, the community I live in. You know, I'm not going to solve world problems, and I wasn't sent here to fix this planet. I was sent here to vibrate at such a high oscillation that everything around me blooms.
Oh, yes.
And that's where I'm at now. But it took almost 2 decades of walking through peanut butter, if I may, but that was just my journey. I don't know, you know.
I say molasses, peanut butter works.
I flip and love peanut butter. Like that is from heaven, peanut butter.
Do you hear that, Ken? She says that peanut butter's from heaven.
Yes.
Does he know that too?
Oh, he does. That's
I put peanut butter, salt, and butter on everything.
Oh yeah. Yes. Well, Ken is notorious for having his jar of peanut butter, and he'll just go in with a spoon and start eating peanut butter.
Me too. Cashew butter, almond.
Well, if he walks out of the kitchen and he's eating something, and I know that we don't have goodies in the cupboard, I know he's having peanut butter.
That's nice. Yeah. Good stuff, man. It's those little things in life.
I know. Well, it's those little things that helps make me really grateful for the flesh avatar experience that we have, because there's so much other of the experience that is so, well, it can be exacerbating and marvelous at the same time. So I'm glad we have the balance. I'm glad that we have the balance if we can see it that way.
That's what I have to constantly. Yeah, well, that's what I constantly remind myself. That's part of my daily reprieve that I get, is because of the awareness I have of the duality here, still in third dimension. I don't have to partake in it, but I'm still going to be exposed to it consistently because that's this realm. You know, my job is just to have that awareness and allow. I just kind of, it to be, and it'll be okay. And not everyone's gonna enjoy that, because my existence will prick you.
And I love that about you.
And I don't do it because I'm trying to be haughty or snarky. Like, I had my ass handed to me. The last thing I want to ever do is make someone feel uncomfortable or unloved.
I know that. But when we vibrate at a different frequency level because of the shadow work, the dark night of the soul, and someone has not, their egregores start shifting in the presence of those who have done it, who have released themselves from their egregores, because it's a different frequency and it vibrates at such a nature because it's truth. And truth is always something that will reveal egregores to be the exact opposite of that.
Trumps them every time. That's why my experience, they couldn't stand it. Like my Poppy, the Sufi I sat before, he's the pivotal point that saved my life, because I came to him in 2014 when I was about to die. I had just gotten out of prison. So angry at myself, but wasn't ready to see it was me still. I was still really clinging to, you don't know how much milk I put on my cereal. Let me explain myself.
Let me justify everything.
Oh my gosh, I call R&J. Don't, like, usually if someone calls me with something and they're like, and this happened, and I go, have you prayed? And if they say no, I just hang up on you. If you pray and you call me back and you're ready to look at yourself, I will guide you through what I know through the book of James, basically, because that's how I learned to clean up my insides. And that's why I went to school. Like, this is my big, like, my life goal. I'm trying to extrapolate out of what you guys have, the reparenting, to put it in such a format to bring it to prisons, because they have more of a chance than most to get this. And I want to teach them, because I go into prisons now and you're allowed to have meetings and such. And what those 12 steps do is help. But again, it's still of the matrix, and it keeps you stuck at that. Hey, I didn't drink or use drugs today. Check me out. And Poppy was so funny, because he'd be like, yeah, Heather, welcome to ground zero. Now you're just as emotionally fucked up as the rest of the world without the chemical peace of mind. And I was like, oh God, no, really? Why did I think I was arriving when I stopped that? You mean there's more?
That's brilliant. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he used to check me all the time. That's why I love humility. I love studying it. St. Francis has been a frequency that has just brought me to my knees. Him and Einstein are who helped me with Lilith. Like, if that isn't the funniest combo ever. True Hebrew frequencies, all of them. You know, I just, yeah, nothing but love remains when the fire burns out.
Oh, that's good. And
Well, I tell
life.
Zarin this,
Yeah.
like when we talk, because I just adore him. And, you know, I send him these things, because marriage is tough, especially with a bunch of kids. Like, I'm in awe of the two of them.
I know.
And I just love them so much, but I know I only had two. And so that's why and the way they're doing it, like, so grateful for the family that the universe has plunked in front of me.
I
And,
agree.
even him, like, we
start
talk,
road
like,
trip.
we aren't trying to love, we are love. So just be love. And that's that mother's like, I do think every moment before, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? It has to be all three, not just one, before I regurgitate it. Am I about to right now compare myself to someone, character assassinate them to make myself feel better? You know, and usually I stop and I don't have to speak, you know, because I'll internally have a dialogue that tells me those are old agreements, egregores. Don't bring that up. And I just know from what I've been through, and doing that release, whenever there's somebody that comes at me, even today, and it's usually my daughter, it's a frequency I put out that attracted that in that moment. So if someone's coming on to me or doing something that I don't like, my job is in love to tell them, this isn't work, this isn't right. These frequencies are jammed up. What are your intentions? This is where we are, and that's where it will stay. And what happens for me, my experience as a woman and not taking my power back and being a people pleaser and all that, you know, until you release that and you're not resentful that men walked all over you, you're going to keep drawing men to them and blaming them for things that you haven't worked out yet.
I agree.
And the man that's doing it has, and you both have stuff to look at, because on the other end, the person that is in that, because once you're married in here, you can go look for someone else, so to speak. And if you're supposed to, you'll find them. But for the most part, where we're at in our journeys, our life, all of us are where we're supposed to be with that. If you're not with someone right now, you're not supposed to be. And that's just my interpretation. And I love being married to Heather. She's flipping amazing. And I never thought I could say that. I can finally say that, yeah. I love that. You know, and I have children, like that part of my existence is over. I don't need that type. I have intimacy on levels that far exceed that.
I agree. So when we draw things within our sphere, it's coming to us. Probably the best thing that we all can do is stop in that moment and say, who am I?
Yes. Fire.
Who am I? because it's coming into us, the sphere, to mirror something to us, for us to learn a greater depth of who we are
Amen.
in that realization of discovering self, to know thyself. And I love that. Being married to self is an incredible place to be. It took me a long time to get there, but I'll tell you what, as soon as I did get there, my marriage to my husband back in the peanut gallery, everything changed.
Yeah. And
Everything
that's it.
changed.
Yep. And you guys will have that solidarity, and it'll only get better because that's the focal point that you will grow and walk forward from,
Exactly. It's
and
not I had likened it to, because I actually feel that Ken came in to rescue me, because I believe that I got stuck in a loop, and I was, in every lifetime I was winding down in entropy a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think that when he came in, that I was in my lowest entropic state, and that I needed to be rescued, and to help reverse that spin, to bring that life frequency back online. And I do believe
look at what happened.
Oh my gosh. But the patience on his part, I laugh now. I'm sure he's listening. He's
But
got a smile on his face. But the patience that he had and has for me in walking through this to get where we are now, I'm so eternally grateful for it. There's literally not words. I can say Toda Rabah until I'm blue in the face, and it just doesn't accompany the true essence of the feelings that I have here in that love and that totality of completeness. Because with his presence being there and doing that, he helped provide that safe space for me to explore and deal with my crap. I mean, I had to unpack it. I had to look at it. I had to live through it again so that I could release it. And a lot of it, as you know, what you've gone through, it was ugly. It was not fun. And, he
That's
had to
why
go
people
through
don't do
that.
it, Carrie. That's why it takes some people a few incarnations, because most don't want to face that, because that's that big fear, like false evidence appearing real, and that's the beauty of it. Now you both know your happiness doesn't come from each other.
No.
You make your own. So there you have it. That's the golden key. That's the unity. I'm not looking at anyone to bring me my joy, but you know what? I need sometimes others to reflect me. I need to reflect others. But Poppy used to say, you don't come to the table empty-handed and take things. You put stuff down, you take things off. Put stuff down, take things off. But there has to be an exchange, an equal. That's what happens in a lot of we's with others, especially if codependency issues. They end up getting really messy when there isn't a truth. Or I also like family is like a business, just like my little universe. And when I don't do inventories on it, it'll go out of business. So coming together as a family once a month and extrapolating these things, iron sharpens iron. One of the things I do is everyone got, when you say I feel, that way I'm not, and then I can remove whatever's blocking me from you or Vanessa from, I'm looking for names, Michelle, or, so we all know our foundation's love, because people, when you don't trust yourself, you don't trust other people.
Exactly.
So that's
the whole key of what Ken has been talking about with building the family trust.
But people don't, I can see the blank stares, so to speak.
Well, you know why? Because what trust requires from self is a deep, honest ability to go in and excavate and be honest with yourself.
Yeah. We all needed the Lilith. Like, I adore my dark side.
Oh, I do too.
It's in check.
Absolutely do.
Mine's in check today. I had to become the lion to get to be in the lammy chop that I am. But I'm still not the one, motherfucker. So you don't even get it twisted. I'm wicked nice, but I can be that nasty as well.
I know. But by saying that, that's exactly that what is and what is not living in the same space, which makes us quantum, right? It's the one and the zero. When they unite and live in the same space, then we're not
favorite.
this or that. We're quantum.
People don't realize Einstein was one of the most spiritual men. I think I sent you the letters he wrote to his daughter that weren't to be released till this time, because he knew. And he had this theoretical physicist named David Bohm, who I adore as well. He called him his spiritual son, you know? And these are the people that showed me those parts of Yeshua ben Joseph's teaching, which also lined up with the Hopi for me and my lineage being Micmac, right? I think I told you this is what's wicked funny for me, because being Micmac, born in Nova Scotia, and I'm a dual citizen like Ken, Canada and America, and my lineage, and Micmacs are the ones that first befriended the Christians that came over and gave them the cross, because they're the ones that knew the compass journey, right? And who invented ice hockey? Micmac Indians.
Well, of course, it's like, it's all just coming around. That's
And I
all
love
it
it.
is.
So they must not have let me play or something. I don't know. But yeah, like more, it's just all unbelievable when you allow your consciousness to be your guide in that benevolence that is right here. Because again, we're coming into the season where people are starting to be schooled in the biological, electromagnetic computer systems that we really are. And we have to be reprogrammed. And once people are taught that synaptically, there's over 50,000 cells that reside in our brain that make decisions. 50,000 of those same cells are right here, but they're not turned on until you do the inner excavation. And then you have to get a momentum where you start to train yourself to go from here to here every day, even moment by moment. That's why they bow their head below their chest.
Yes.
To remind themselves to think from here and all of that. You know, fire, right? I love
That's
you.
exactly it. That's that negentropic coherent state. And, you know, we're all getting there. And eventually we all will be
This
there.
is phenomenal, Carrie. Just the fact that what we've done since April.
I know.
So pump the brakes,
I
kid.
know.
You're on fire.
So are you, sister.
You know,
And so
that's
we're
just
doing it together.
Oh,
We're
look,
doing
I have, yeah, because I told you I'm supposed to learn, like I found you, like I was told, my Alexa told me, like, this is what I mean about those things. My Alexa said you need to learn Aramaic. Stop. You know, like, and like just stuff like that over the years. And I always kid because I love scripture and narratives. Like, hi, I'm the 2022 version of Jonah. I'm exhausted. I don't fucking want to do this. Are you shitting me? I'm supposed to learn this, you know, because I did the dark night of the soul. I walked this all out in that paradigm to show witness to it. But the easiest way to teach it to people is through this.
I know. Exactly. You got to love the flashcards. I'm so happy to see those. That just thrills me to no end. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, well, I have to, like, I know, because the only time I ever have discrepancies in the shalom are when I'm not living up to my full potential. I never have discontentment. I bring it upon myself when I'm not doing the next right-handed path thing. And that's setting time aside every day to do this, not R&Jing that I need to go carve pumpkins and eat pie, you know, like disciplines. Again, I'm back. And I'm just excited about this. So
well, we're all wrestling a dimension. The ether realm is trying to conquer a material world. That's the warfare. But yet we sit in middle ground going like, yeah, maybe tomorrow. And it's going like, you don't get it.
No, well, that's just it. That's one of my labels that I kind of chuckle at is authoritative oppositional defiance.
Yeah. Yeah. I played the fifth, Your Honor.
This is the other thing, all right, because my family always laughs because of my IQ went up several points when I ended up having 37 staples in the back of my head in 2016. I got hit by a car when I was in a rehab in Lowell, crossing the street, just after I had had a hip replacement. Like, this is just me. I just walk around and bang into everything.
Good to know. Oh,
Not anymore,
I'll
Ken. You guys are
accordingly.
safe. I've been way over here.
Well, I know, but I'm saying if I'm ever around you, I'll just walk accordingly. I'll maybe be like
Or we'll just wear
Yeah.
bubble wrap.
up 10 steps behind or 10 steps forward, one of the two.
No, I swear, you guys, this was all my vibration at that point in my life. And so I
Right.
was like a magnet for disaster,
Yeah, yeah.
because Spirit told me I have a job. And they are going to just keep pushing me in that direction, whatever it takes. So
Yeah.
the only pain or discomfort, like, pain ain't an option. Sorry, folks, you're in fucking Sheol. Suffering is optional. Pain, not so much. So that's what I realized, is I kept drawing all that to me to wake up. And now in the past, since I've opened up to you guys, because all of this was going on in my world, I was already going to Crestone, and now I'm sharing this because it's very powerful for me. And it's really hard to be paralyzed and then not paralyzed, do that work, and then be like, not ashamed of it, but then like people that can't, like, you feel awkward, like they look at you like, well, and I just don't like I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't like being made uncomfortable. Therefore, that's how I would like others to be. So I'm wicked quiet of my power.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, yeah, I get the language, I've had to, we're all self-taught really. And I know the fluidity of flow in the wrestle is that behind the scenes, the realm is really holding us to our oath. We don't know what the oath is. They're going, you already gave us permission to put you under the fire, regardless. So they're doing us a service and an honor at what we ask them to do. For us to truly, when we flow, the fluidity is based on the surrendering to the oath.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to render.
That's why I could sit in front of the two of you, because it's music to my insides. It's like when I tone, my cells have been trained, like they're disciplined, like no one's business.
Generously express our oath to fulfill our flow in hopes that we can unlock another potential that they would fulfill their oath, so they would flow.
Yes,
And
amen.
that's what we're doing. The rest of it is like, it's not, there's enough nurses in the world. I'm okay.
Well, that's what Carrie was saying earlier.
Mhm. Yeah,
When we're in our flow and we're doing what we're supposed to do, showing up as self in service to others as a family unit, that's where the bond begins, and it's strengthened because I understand the trust I have and I see it reflected in you. Therefore,
That's
I
right.
trust you.
that's right. And that's a rarity, that level of frequency and vibration. I've heard people talk on that. And very seldom do I see the accompaniment or the completion of it as a state of being. Like I hear a regurgitated statement that's declaring a thing, and then it doesn't take too long for me to realize that doesn't line up.
There's no resonance. Yeah.
There's no resonance. There's no foundation, therefore no authority. And I could tell that they're simply saying that. And I'm like, that's okay. But very few people do I feel confident and comfortable around when they exchange the level of trust. You come across very transparent. You come across like you've had your shit, you deal your shit, you wield the black and the white well. The middle ground, you vocalize that. I love your unique expression of how you articulate yourself. I think that's wonderful. And I think that you found the ability to trust yourself. You're going like, and I think that
came through you guys. That's the past 9 months. That was my last flump. And, that's why I know you're real family to me.
that's exactly what it is. And so you hold that vibration. It's an honor to reveal that. It's a greater homage to watch it manifested.
Absolutely.
And so please, from my heart to yours, hold fast to that, because that's where even in you're just simply observing and coming alongside and witnessing, however, whether you do it on the platform or just in spirit, because regardless to me, We are forever shielded. We're linked.
Yeah.
And in that, right, we can bring and draw. We have now a collective power that pulls a greater dimension of force into this realm to draw another.
Yep. Amen.
So
Bingo.
that's what we're doing
Beautifully
behind the
said.
scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. I adore you guys.
We absolutely adore and love you. I mean, you are family, you are Mishpachah, and thank you for helping to always draw the anointing out, not only with us, but with yourself, but also the others that you speak to on a daily basis. You are a treasure, you are a gift, you are Segula, and you are family.
And I'm just so full of gratitude.
Us
That's
too.
as well.
Oh my gosh. Another day a while.
Another day, wow! I know. I love you, my friend.
Go get them,
My sister.
kids.